we're going to wait another moment here. We're waiting for our translator to join the meeting in Spanish, and we're going to move them into the channel here. Give us one moment.
And Karen, we're all set live on YouTube, so you can stay host.
Okay, for those that have joined, again, I'll say one more time, if you need language interpretation this evening, we're offering interpretation in Spanish and Vietnamese. And we ask that you join selecting the interpretation globe at the bottom, and you can select the language that you need. Okay, we'll go to the next slide there.
Hola,
Welcome,
muy buenas tardes, muy bienvenidos a todos.
See, we can still hear you, Clara, live. All right, Karen, I'll let you work on that.
She's quiet.
Okay.
We can't hear her anymore. I think it's working.
Don't see the icon next to her, but we'll have to move through the meeting as is. Can I ask everyone to mute themselves who's not speaking? Thank you. All right. We will go over some Zoom participation tips. If you're a member of an organization, we ask that you rename yourself so we can see who you are. And anyone can really choose to rename yourself if you like. We are going to be doing 2 sessions of Q&A this evening, and we'll be using the Q&A box down at the bottom of your screen. We'll be asking that if you have a question, you type it in the Q&A box. We'll be answering questions at specific times throughout the meeting. And we ask that you stay muted throughout the meeting until the question and answer session. If you have a technical question about the meeting, something's not working, you can't hear something, feel free to put it in the Q&A and a staff member may directly respond to you. We'll also have an opportunity later in the meeting when we do a larger Q&A at the end after the presentation. You'll also be able to raise your hand and ask questions live. It is important that you wait to raise your hand until you're called on, or you type the message in the Q&A. Because we're offering interpretation services this evening, we want to make sure that our questions are read out loud. So staff will be doing that to give everyone an opportunity to hear the questions. I also just wanted to note that please treat all the participants tonight with respect and kindness and consideration. At VTA, we value diversity of views and opinions, and we hope to get a lot of those here about the Central Bikeway tonight. We will not tolerate demeaning, discriminatory, or harassing behavior or speech, and will be removing participants if they do not follow those rules. Also wanted to note that we will be recording this meeting for distribution tonight or for posting to participants. All right, thank you all. So if you need interpretation, please join our channel at the bottom. Okay, why don't we move to the intros? Hi, everyone. My name's Brent. I'm going to be helping direct the show this evening and helping to lead the presentation. I am VTA's project manager for the Central Bikeway. And with us tonight, we have Emily from Alta. She's my co-lead and project manager for our consultant team. Her deputy is Jennifer. She'll also be assisting us tonight with questions and answers. And then we have 2 special guests tonight. Jackie, excuse me, we just have 1 special guest tonight, actually, but Jackie is with us tonight. She's a leader at Meta LLC, a community-based organization, and a key member of our team that will be helping to engage with you all throughout this project. And Sarah will also be playing a similar role. She works for the Guadalupe River Park Conservancy, and unfortunately she wasn't able to join us tonight, but you'll be seeing her face throughout the project. I want to take a little time to thank our partners. Some of them are on the call with us this evening. Our city partners, San Jose, Santa Clara, and our county partner, the County of Santa Clara. They're integral members of our core team as well, and we're working with them very closely on this project. And I also wanted to thank our funding partner, Caltrans, as well, for helping make this project a reality. All right, so going over the agenda tonight, we're going to briefly talk about our vision for engagement, and we plan to create some shared principles with the community on how we intend to engage with you throughout the life of the project. We're also going to learn about how we got here tonight. There's a lot of background that got us to this place to get us thinking about what the Central Bikeway could become. We'll talk a little bit about schedule, and then we'll have our first Q&A of the evening, take a few quick questions before we dive into a really, hopefully interactive and immersive presentation that we have prepared for you this evening. And then we really want to hear from you. We're going to have some interactive polling questions. So we do ask that you have your web browser handy this evening. You will be needing to type in a very simple link, and you'll be prompted with questions throughout the evening as we ask you about your needs and your challenges that you have about bicycling in the county. And then we're going to demo you some future tools that we'll have available for you over the next month to further engage with you in the virtual setting, and then doing a robust Q&A at the end. So with that, I wanted to give a little time and space for Jackie on our team to introduce herself and share with us who she is and what Meta does.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Jackie Franco. This is my assistant, Elena. And I am a co-owner of a small business called Meta LLC. We're actually a worker-owned business cooperative. And we are all, it's 11 women from the neighborhood. And it's our specialty to really connect and be a bridge for organizations in city and county to residents in San Jose, all over San Jose specifically, and specifically East San Jose. And I'm just happy to be part of this partnership and to really have that community engagement and hear from all you on this project. Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. And then I'm going to quickly hand it to Libby to do a test question for you all.
Cool, yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Libby Nachman from Alta. I'll be one of your Q&A moderators tonight, and I'm also going to introduce you to our interactive polling service. We're going to be using Poll Everywhere tonight to hopefully make this presentation a bit more engaging. So this web link here, pollev.com/altaplanning107, if you can go ahead and open that in a web browser, we're going to be pushing all of our poll questions to that browser, and it'll be the same link all night. So you can use the same web browser and keep that page open. When you go to the link, it's going to ask you for your name. You're welcome to put in your name. You can also skip putting in your name. It will ask you about notifications. You can go ahead and click Not Now so you don't get notifications during the meeting. We're going to have 3 different questions tonight. You should see a sample question of if you understand what's happening. That's the multiple choice type. We're also going to have a couple of other write-in and ranking questions later on. We'll talk about those when we get there. So let's keep this page open and let's go ahead and see what we're hearing. Great, it looks like everybody is understanding how this works, either absolutely or at least in the affirmative. So as I said, please keep this page open. We'll be swapping back and forth to Poll Everywhere throughout the evening. And thanks, I'll pass it back to Brent.
I wanted to take a little space and just pause for a second. Unfortunately, our Spanish interpretation is not working this evening. For any of the attendees, would you be able to raise your hand if you need Spanish interpretation? Or Clara, could you ask that question verbally in the English channel in Spanish?
Sí, muy buenas tardes. Disculpe los problemas técnicos. Pregunta Brett si hay alguna persona que necesita interpretación en español, si puede indicarnos o levantar la mano, por favor.
I see, Justin, you're raising your hand. Yeah, unfortunately, our Spanish interpretation channel is not working. So I think one other thing that we could do to assist you is we could share a link to our Spanish presentation in the Q&A, and you could pull that up and hopefully follow along in a translated presentation.
Sí, aparentemente no está funcionando la interpretación de español, entonces le informamos que hay un enlace, un link en nuestro sitio web que puede usted entrar y seguir la presentación de la Junta en español.
And then Clara, if we could just ask if that person does want live interpretation, I think what we could do is we'll just change our presentation style and have me speak, and then you interpret if that person would like Spanish interpretation throughout the meeting.
Si la persona o personas que están en la junta requieren de interpretación en español, Brett indica que puede, por favor, háganos saber y él puede hacer su presentación, cambiarla un poco y después de que él hable, yo puedo interpretar en español.
So the person that raised your hand, could you put a comment in the Q&A or unmute yourself and just confirm that you would like live translation?
La persona que levantó la mano, por favor, puede hacer sus preguntas en la cajita de chat o bien puede decirnos si necesita la interpretación en vivo. Se le puede quitar el silenciador y nos hace saber.
He posted in the chat, does not need translation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go ahead and deliver the presentation in Spanish. I think I'll do a check-in maybe in a few more minutes again, Clara, to see if there's anyone else that's joined us if I see the attendee list go up, okay? Okay. All right, so we'll be asking you the first interactive polling question this evening. This is a demographics question, and VTA collects demographic information at all of our public meetings. This is totally voluntary information, but it really does help us understand who's here tonight, and it helps you all understand who's here tonight as well. And demographic information is really important for this study because we do have particular project goals about specific communities, low-income communities, communities of color, groups that we want to reach out to and target and make sure that we're having conversation with them to learn about how we can deliver the Central Bikeway. So we'll give you a minute or two to answer that question. Ooh, that looks interesting. It's not, oh, there it is.
Yeah, that was just saying we've had 16 done and 3 people are still in the middle of taking the survey.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. So it looks like we have a diverse age range tonight. That's great. It's actually more diverse than our first meeting yesterday. And we have about the same makeup of people that I've identified as women and men as basically we did yesterday. It's about 30-70 split. Okay. And a small percentage of our attendees are identifying as Spanish or Latino origin. Thank you. And okay, a large percentage of our attendees tonight are identifying as white. And we do have several others identifying as other races, Asian and Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander. So thank you for that information. It's very helpful for us. Hopefully you find it helpful for you all as well. Okay, so we're going to move on to background, give you all a little context of how we got to where we are tonight. So the project that we'll eventually be talking about, the Central Bikeway, is really building on a lot of great bicycle planning work that has been done in the county to date. We have a very robust network of bikeways in our county. Lucky us. 200 of those miles are off-street bike paths, so those are really pleasant places to bicycle, and hopefully you all have had the chance to do that before. VTA is proposing, we have this vision for a cross-county network of bicycle superhighways, and the Central Bikeway is the first of a network of 12 corridors that we're going to be studying. So we're really excited that you all joined us here tonight to be talking about the first bicycle superhighway corridor. We envision these as being low stress routes that connect you to jobs or places where you live or other things that you need to do, healthcare facilities, great public spaces. And we envision them crossing the county, so longer distance kinds of corridors. We heard these things from the county-wide bike planning effort that VTA led in 2018. So what many people don't know about VTA is we're also responsible for county-wide bike planning efforts. We work in coordination with local cities or jurisdictions who often produce their own bike plans on a more citywide level. And so we look at kind of the network, the bicycle network from a higher level, thinking about ways that people can connect to local trails or paths. Our plan also looks at barriers that may be on the network, places where we need to improve crossings. It helps us in many ways. One is where we can identify or distribute fundings to our local jurisdictions to actually address some of the challenges that they have. Our network also calls out for a series of corridors that take you across the county. And so that's where this vision of bicycle superhighways came. And during our outreach in 2018, one of the things we heard loud and clear was that people are looking for corridors that are comfortable to ride on, that are safe, that take them long distances, and particularly east-west throughout the corridor. We have great north-south corridors. We're here for one reason tonight, because the Central Bikeway is an east-west corridor, and we'll get into that a little bit more detail later. So here's kind of a vision for our 12 corridors connecting across the county. Central Bikeway, as I've mentioned before, is the first. It's kind of there in the middle in that dark blue line, connecting through Santa Clara, central San Jose into northeast San Jose. These are going to be hopefully high quality facilities, a joy to ride on. We'll talk about that more later. Puts a smile on my face. Great connections throughout the county. And also, we want to recognize that these corridors may build on existing, possibly trail corridors that already exist, use parts of them, but not always. These corridors may be on roadways or expressways as well. There are great north-south corridors in the Guadalupe, San Tomas Aquino, and Stevens Creek, and the Coyote Creek Trail as well. So the Central Bikeway is first for a number of reasons. We chose it because it connects to heavily used bike paths and corridors in the county and to major transit hubs. So namely the San Tomas Aquino Trail on the east end, the Guadalupe River Trail in the center of the project area there in blue, and the Coyote Creek Trail kind of near the Berryessa BART station on the right-hand side of the graphic. This corridor moves in an east to west or west to east direction. And it also connects neighborhoods where there are a lot of homes to locations where there are a lot of jobs. So it links the two of those. It also travels through very economically and racially diverse neighborhoods and places in our county, which is an important goal to connect to those audiences. Just one more thing, Emily. I just wanted to call out there some of the major transit hubs too at Lawrence Station for Caltrain, Santa Clara Caltrain Station as well. And then the VTA light rail line is in the middle of the map there in our new beautiful Berryessa BART station there in northeast San Jose. And if you haven't had a chance to ride or visit the station, it's a great facility. Check it out. So our vision for the Central Bikeway, kind of putting all that together, is to create a bicycle superhighway that will provide a joyful, continuous, connected, and comfortable bikeway between Santa Clara and North San Jose. Just want to let that sit in a little bit. And I want you to remember some key words here: joyful, continuous, connected, and comfortable. Those are themes you're going to hear a lot about tonight. We're going to ask you specific questions about those things. So keep those on the forefront of your mind as Emily leads you through the interactive portion of our presentation. Brief schedule here. Currently, right now, we're just at the very beginning of this project, kicking off in a technical way what we call our conditions analysis. Really, this is where we look what's been planned by our local jurisdictions, what bikeways are coming online, what developments are being built near this potential trail. We also look at other studies or planning work that's been done. The airport's going through a master planning process, things like that. The next phase of our project will look at all the feedback we've collected from you all, and we'll begin to put lines on a map. So right now we're not on a place where we're talking about lines on a map, but eventually we'll get to that place and we'll have 3 alignments for you to see at some time in the future. And then we'll narrow that down to a preferred corridor at some point later in the spring or summer of 2021, and produced a draft plan for you all to look at and gather more input, and then finalize our study and use that to hopefully fund the project one day. All right. So we're at our first Q&A. I've seen a few other people join. So Clara, I was wondering if you could again ask the 2 or 3 new attendees since we last checked in if anyone needs Spanish interpretation before we take questions.
Sí, alguien de los que están registrados necesitan interpretación en español antes de que procedamos al periodo de preguntas y respuestas. Por favor, indíquenos en la cajita de chat o levante la mano.
All right, I don't see any hands going up. Is there anything in the chat, team members?
No one needing Spanish interpretation.
Okay. No. Great. All right, so we'll take a few questions from the chat here. Libya or Jennifer, would one of you like to start?
Yeah, so we have a question that says, hi city team, we have already filled in the survey online. Is this session going to go over the same survey, or do you have other content to cover after?
We do have some interactive content. It's slightly different than the survey, but we will be asking you this evening live things that you would like to see as part of a bicycle superhighway, and maybe some challenges that you face. And we'll be asking you to rank those items. And we will be doing a demo of the online survey and tool. So I think we would still value your feedback tonight so that others can hear your voice or see the concerns or questions that you may have. Thank you. Another question?
Another question in the chat asks, are there truly many different options for east-west paths?
Yeah, great question. So, you know, of course, it's easy to think about lines and routes right at the beginning as a team, and we probably do that more than we should because we're still really talking about vision right now. But, you know, we envisioned when we applied for a grant for this study corridors like Central Expressway, El Camino Real, other streets in Santa Clara, the Alameda. There are multiple options to get around the airport, either on the north side or the south side. And there's also multiple options going east to the Berryessa BART station. And so part of this process will be trying to figure out, one, where do you all need to go and want to go? Where are the places that you will be most drawn to that will actually make you use a facility like this? And those are the types of things that we want to learn about as part of this process. We'll take one more question and then we'll go into the rest of our presentation.
This question asks, does this session cover the same info as the session yesterday?
It does cover the same information as the session yesterday. So if you joined yesterday, you'll be seeing the same presentation, although the questions and the content will be different. So if you're interested in hearing what maybe other members of the community have to say that weren't present yesterday, that will definitely most likely be different. It's already different right now, so. All right, thank you all for engaging. So we'll probably have about 15 to 20 minutes more presentation, really good interaction for you all, and then we'll have a much more robust Q&A at the end, and you'll again have the ability to raise your hand at that time and continue to ask questions in the Q&A. That will help our team begin to compile answers and get those queued up for the Q&A session. So I'll just ask you to pull up that browser and have it ready, and then I'll hand the reins over to Emily to continue with our presentation.
Thanks, Brent. I'm Emily Duchan, and I really am excited to be here today and talk about the Central Bikeway. I really appreciate everybody's time this evening to join together. So thank you. The term bike superhighway that Brent has been sort of tossing around already, you know, that term dates back to the early 2000s to really a handful of bikeways in the Netherlands, London, and Copenhagen. But there are regional bikeways that are serving as these bike superhighways around the world, including the San Tomas Aquino Trail here in Santa Clara. So you can see from some of these photos on the screen, you know, these regional or these bike superhighways come in many shapes and sizes, from a bikeway in the median with shade trees to bikeways along the edge of road corridors. And within that one, the protection from adjacent vehicles, that level of protection really varies from wide landscape setbacks to narrow curbs, or even having bridges to cross major barriers or intersections. So what these bikeways all achieve is that they're comfortable or low stress, so they're providing a really good user experience. They're accessible, they connect to the places that you want to go, and they're direct and provide continuous routes that really create that efficient option for long distance bike travel. And here we're talking, you know, some of these existing bike superhighways range from 3 to 20 miles. So trying to build up to making those cross-county connections. So we've been using the term bike superhighway, but we're not totally sure what to call them. And so we want to hear from you and hear a little bit about what name really resonates with you. So if you go back to your browser window to the same pollev.com/altaplanning 107 link, you can type in your responses directly, and in a minute, they will start showing up here on the screen, and we can all look at them together. So, you know, maybe you like bike superhighway, maybe bike freeway. We've heard terms like rapid bikeway, like a rapid busway, or just a super bikeway. And, you know, whatever creative ideas you have, we'd love to hear them.
So some of the responses are starting to come in, and we see off-road, freeway. Someone stole your word rapid, Emily.
Nice.
And yeah, I see some more creative words are coming in now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Off-road is
Trail.
different. We didn't see that yesterday.
There's a new one, Blue Way.
There's some country that has a blue way. Can't remember.
Yeah, and Greenway and Greenbelt, you know, really focusing on sort of that natural experience. Well, great. Thank you for sharing. So, you know, as they show up in here, they do, you know, if you have a space, it splits the words up, but don't worry, on the back end, we'll be able to see your full response and record those. So thank you for participating in our first, we still have lots of good ideas. bike paths, cycling, lots of good ideas coming in, so thanks. So the project partners have drafted some goals which will be used to guide the evaluation and design of the bikeway alternatives. So Brent showed you the study area, which was identified through the county bike planning process. And now we're narrowing down which corridors the Central Bikeway will be on. And these goals help guide us to the alternative that really best serves the community. So the first goal is project compatibility. And as Brent mentioned, the project is building upon the great planning work that's been done. So this goal is really to ensure that compatibility with previous and existing planning efforts throughout the study area. The next goal is that it be a community desired project. We certainly want a bikeway that will serve you. And we want to hear about your desires and needs so that we can design the bikeway and evaluate which route is really going to help you get around. So a bikeway that improves your mobility and connects to destinations you need and want to go is very important. So that's why we have this mobility and access goal. Do you want to be getting to transit stations? Maybe it's work, school, or shopping. A safe bikeway is paramount. So a bikeway that provides separation from vehicle traffic, as well as considers your personal safety and how you perceive that safety. Is something we think is an important goal to measure if we can achieve that. And also a joyful bikeway, right? A bikeway that enhances user well-being and provides a comfortable and joyful experience with access to green and open space. And the equity goal really speaks to creating a bikeway that improves access to opportunities for traditionally underserved communities, especially in low-income communities of color. So we want to hear a little bit from you about which of these goals is the most important to you, or what kind of route. You can think about it as what kind of route you would want to ride. And this is a new type of poll everywhere question. So I'm just going to give a quick tutorial because this one's going to be a little bit different. So it's a ranking question. And so to do that, to move your choices from your top choice at the top and your bottom choice at the bottom, you click on the gray bar and these two arrows will appear. So you can click it 3 times down to the bottom if number 1 is actually your bottom choice. And then you can hit the submit button to record it. So I'm going to activate the question here, and you can rank in order of importance. So again, the top being the most important and the bottom being the least important. So far, we have a route that feels largely separated from cars coming in as number 1. That's still staying at the top.
Joyful and peaceful. Joyful and peaceful are doing better today, Brent.
Yeah.
I'm the joy leader on the team, just in case everyone wanted to know. Oh, this is great. Route that connects to community destinations, number 2.
Yeah, it's really important, right, to be able to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, that's also different from what we heard yesterday, so that's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Separated from cars, very important. Common theme. Very common to hear that too for both of our cities. They've shared that as well.
Yeah, and that participants tonight have sort of more of a distribution between sort of those safety aspects and balancing safety and connectivity, and also joy. It's great to see up on the top 3.
Getting some commentary in via the Q&A box. As someone has specified that in addition to direct, a route that's fast, so things like synchronizing lights, so it's you don't need to stop on a big street like El Camino. It would be practical and direct.
That's great. Thank you for that feedback.
Great. Thanks.
And for those that just want to provide comments in the Q&A too throughout the evening, we'll accept those. And we may take some time like Libby just did, or during the Q&A to just read some people's comments as well.
Great, thank you. I'm going to go on to the next topic. So we certainly understand there can be a number of factors that can prevent you from biking more often or even to more places. Understanding your current challenges really helps us design a bikeway to address the challenges, really to encourage more people to use it. So we've summarized some typical safety concerns into these 5 high-level categories. So perhaps what keeps you from biking more is just safety concerns. So you might be concerned about your personal safety from traffic or from other sources along a corridor. Maybe roads aren't comfortable. They have too many potholes or they're just not pleasant. Maybe biking is inconvenient for you, that your destinations are just too far away or it takes too much time that you don't have. Perhaps there aren't bike facilities where you need them. So there aren't comfortable bikeways or roads that actually can make the connections you need, or maybe there's not secure bike parking at your destinations. And then there can just be personal reasons that prevent you from being able to ride a bike. Maybe you don't own a bicycle, or you don't have the physical strength or health to bike. Maybe you just don't want to be sweaty when you get to work. So we have another ranking question where we would like to hear from you. So again, you can tap on the bar and then use the arrows to click your biggest challenge to the top and list your lower challenge to the bottom. And we know that this question does require you to make choices. And so if these choices, if we haven't, can you guys still see my screen? I think I might be having technical difficulties.
Yeah, it says it's loading. So we can still see your
Okay.
screen and your mouse. There it goes. It's asking you to restart the add-in, so maybe just restart it there. Hang in there with us all.
Yeah, hopefully you can see the poll everywhere question in your browser, and it's, oh great. Oh, okay, my computer just crashed. So Brent, I'm gonna have to ask you to, well, maybe we're back up.
Sure, I'll pull it up just in case it's back up here.
Okay, okay. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the next, stop sharing really quick.
Do you want me to share on my end?
Yep, I think that would be a good idea. I'll try and troubleshoot from over here.
So we are on
Yeah, and maybe
challenges,
actually,
correct?
yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to display the poll everywhere live, though. Can you all see the presentation again? Okay.
Okay.
Let's see here. Yeah, I don't
So
have it added. I should have done that.
7, maybe, well, maybe Libby. I'm not sure if Libby, or do you have the Poll Everywhere app on your screen?
I do not, but we have, I can share a screenshot of the results.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Give me 1 second.
We're going to go. We'll find a workaround for you all to share with you your feedback.
And while we're working on that, I wanted to just take a moment to address a comment that says improving access for people historically receiving less resources should be fundamental to the project and not part of the ranking list. And so as we think about how we rank these, if we want to talk a little bit more about our intentions for serving traditionally underserved communities. This could be a good time to talk about that.
So the comment is that shouldn't be in the ranking? I'm sorry, I missed the first part.
Well, it should be fundamental to the project and not part of a ranking list.
Yeah, so, I mean, I could expand on how we intend to reach communities if we think that that would be helpful. We have new partners on this project. We've recognized at VTA that, you know, community voice, particularly communities that maybe are underserved or have traditionally had underinvestment from government, don't always have a voice in processes like this. So we've been making an extra effort to expand our efforts and our strategies to include those voices. And we intend to do that throughout the life of the project. So hearing what you're saying about ranking maybe places that above or beyond something else versus just valuing that across the length of the project. And I think we're trying to do that as a project goal, maybe differently than we have before on projects, by having partners like Meta join us and the River Conservancy that can help us, you know, reach communities that we don't always touch. Hopefully that answers your question or your comment.
Yeah, I think that's a great comment. Thank you for sharing, and it's important for the project team to hear that. You know, we are striving to really achieve all the goals, and that's why they are goals. But you know, what we do see coming back even from these results is that safety concerns are at the top, and so that's very similar to what we heard last night. And I think that, you know, really creating a safe experience for people is going to be important to the success of this project. So we have another poll to go on to if either Libby or Brent wants to pull up the presentation. Sorry, my computer died. It's probably like my kids on all their other devices. So I appreciate it.
Libby, are you going to share or do you want me?
Do you want to go ahead and do that?
I'll go ahead, cue you up, Emily. There you go.
Thank you. So,
sorry.
There we go. No problem. So, you know, transportation projects have not historically considered joy really as a measure of success. So in fact, this is VTA's first project with joy as a project goal, which creates an opportunity to ensure that the Bikeway is a desirable place to be. So we want to hear a little from you about what makes joy, what you find joyful about biking, and maybe what would make that a little bit more encouraging for you to choose this mode, biking, over another mode. So maybe it's because it makes you feel part of your community. So you feel like you belong on the route, or you just feel very connected to your city. Is it that the experience is stress-free? It's very intuitive and easy to follow, or there's ample space for you to bike comfortably by yourself or with friends? Do you find joy when you're connected to where you want to go? So there's many different places you can travel to, or maybe you can change your mind mid-route because it connects to a number of destinations. Or maybe there's a variety of interesting places to stop and see at. Maybe there's interesting senses along the way, and that brings you joy. You're finding like peace and quiet, or there's great smells or sounds that you don't experience when you're in a car or a train or a bus. Or maybe something about the route is unique or special. So you experience your neighborhood and city in a unique and engaging way. Or maybe it takes you places you might not otherwise go. So if we can go ahead and activate the poll everywhere question. Again, we would like you to rank them in order of importance from the top most important to the bottom least important. And again, if you have other ideas of joy, please type them into the Q&A box. we can review them during the Q&A, or Jennifer or Libby can share them. And in a few minutes, I'm going to go over the online open house, and our survey actually has lots of more options and additional ways for you to provide feedback on some of the questions we're talking about today. So if you have other ideas for challenges or other ideas of what we should consider to spark joy, that would be very, very helpful.
I'm going to stop sharing so you can activate share, Libby. When the questions come in.
Right, I have a screenshot of responses, everyone who replied in the past few minutes. Everyone see, oh, I'm very zoomed in. Does everyone see this?
Thank you all for bearing with us too, by the way. Okay, yeah. Which of these would make biking joyful for you? Stress-free. Number 1, it's very helpful.
We're getting interesting comments too about it being good exercise and the facility being smooth. Just a couple of other comments outside of the poll.
Mm-hmm. New pavement, new concrete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing. You know, when you ride on small wheels, the condition and the surface make a big difference. And having something that's smooth can be a really important aspect for a nice ride. And also protect your bike or other device along the way.
Okay. Trying to remember how this is related to our other meeting. I think the ranking's pretty similar actually to our previous group.
I think it is too, yeah.
All right.
Well, this time, I think I'll just go ahead and share my screen next because I would love to give a demo of the online open house.
Perfect. Let's launch into it.
Okay,
right,
am I sharing the right screen? Great,
yep.
Okay.
You're good to go.
So, you know, yesterday and today's meeting is really just the beginning of outreach for this project. In addition to these 2 community meetings that we're having over Zoom, we have an online open house that will be live for the next 3 weeks. So I'm going to show some of the activities for the online web tool. I'm going to jump ahead to that, but there are a number of survey questions. Some of them have been similar to the questions that we asked today, but like I said, they have more choices and you can provide much more narrative content back. So I'm going to jump ahead to the mapping activity. So we really want to capture your neighborhood wisdom and hear about what are the important places you want to go. And that starts by us understanding where you're coming from. So we would like you to first select the area closest to your home. And I'm going to go ahead and select an area over here by the high school. You can click the button to save your location and it'll take you directly to the next activity. And you can see we already have a lot of comments coming onto the map. And so I'm going to go ahead, there's this blue button up here to hide everybody else's comments. And so I'm going to go ahead and hide the comments just to make it clear. But when you do see other people's comments, you know, feel free to click on them and you can like or dislike them, or you can provide a comment so you can see what other your neighbors are sharing in your community. So here we are we're asking you to use these buttons to mark locations that you frequently go by bicycle or walking, if you're taking the bus or the train, by driving or any other mode. And then we also have a button here to add just important destinations if they're not something that you currently go by one of these modes. So to add a destination you go by bike, you can go ahead and click it. It'll bring up a tutorial box. So when you are ready to make a selection, you can go ahead and place the marker. It'll ask you for your name and you can choose to leave a name or be anonymous and provide a comment if you'd like, or And then when you hit save, it'll say thank you. And then you can add as many markers as you'd like. So you could keep adding other modes and other markers for other destinations you'd like to mark. When you're ready to click next, you can go to the next screen, and it's showing up in Spanish now, but this is a place where you can add challenges to your route. So you go through it in the same similar way and click on the challenge and find a place on the roadway where you can write a description. Is it a busy intersection? Is there potholes? You can add your challenges to the map. You can save and go to the next. And now we're going to be asking you to draw your route. And here we're leaving it very open-ended. And maybe you have a very specific route you'd like to suggest, or maybe you have just a high-level vision of the places that it wants to go. So you'll get a tutorial box, but I will explain it to you. So I'm going to just say, maybe you want to have a bikeway down El Camino Real, and you click, and you can add as many points. And when you are, say, if you accidentally go off a line, that's okay. You can click and drag the point back. Or if you can go backwards to edit it and click on it. So there are a number of features you can use, and when you're done, you can double click and then hit save, and it will save your route. So I'm going to stop sharing so Brent can pick up the map, but so the survey is currently being translated into Spanish, Vietnamese, and Chinese, and that should be up and available for everybody shortly.
Okay, I'm gonna bring up the presentation again here. Give me one sec, everyone. All right. So Emily covered our mapping tool and our survey there for us. And after the meeting, we just asked that you visit centralbikeway.vta.org and give it a shot. That first snapshot Emily showed of all the colors and challenges and things that you all love with the lines on the map was the first time I've seen it. And I was like, wow, so glad to see people are contributing already. That's great. Just a little bit of look ahead of how we'll continue to engage with you all so that we can co-create this project of where we want this bikeway to be in our county. Right now, we're in the fall of 2020, so we're doing our first round of outreach. We're doing virtual meetings like this. We'll have our virtual open house open for the next several weeks where you can continue to contribute by doing the survey, filling out challenges, telling us where you love to be. Maybe over the next month, 2 weeks from now, you're out riding your bike or walking around or driving around and you spot something, feel free to come back to the map and add a point on there. After we begin to kind of collect your feedback and do a little bit of design work, we'll then come back out to you again in early 2020 with some concepts, let you know what we're thinking about, where some potential routes may be based on those challenges and destinations that you'd all like to go to. And then we're going to refine that down to one route. And that's always the hardest part. And we're going to need to do that together, both the team and you all together to figure out where the bikeway should be moving east-west in our county. And then we'll begin to produce our draft study and collect a little bit more feedback, do a check-in with you all. Does this look right? And produce our final document. Whoa. Oh boy, there we go. Forgot I was driving. So we have one last question. And I think instead of doing a poll like we did a word cloud last time, I'll maybe just ask you all to type it in the Q&A box, and we could read out some things that you all are saying. So think about ways that in this new normal, non-traditional, whatever we want to call it, world we're living in right now, how do you want your voice heard on a project like this? Do you want to do more virtual meetings? Do you want us to come to a farmer's market and socially distance with you all? Do you want to do conference calls? Let us know what you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any comments coming in, Libby or Jennifer?
And also we've teamed up with Meta LLC and the Guadalupe River Park Conservancy, but there is also opportunities to potentially bring on one more partner. And so if you have an organization that would really like to get involved in helping the outreach of the project, please do reach out to the community engagement team. Their email will be at the end of this presentation, and let us know.
So I see a few
One of the comments we've gotten says to recommend to use Instagram, Twitter, hit up Facebook cycling groups, and advertise at bike shops, which is encouraging to hear because that has been part of our preliminary engagement in identifying partners. So this is great to hear that this is a way of engagement that you're interested in seeing.
Yeah, I see another comment about virtual meetings being best. And, right now for the foreseeable future, that's how we see ourselves continuing to engage with the community. We're hoping, maybe towards the very end of this project, maybe during the last round, we'll get to do some in-person engagement, but we're just crossing our fingers at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're also going to be exploring the opportunity to, if you guys have ideas on how we could break down the digital divide, we're really aware that not everybody has the same access to all the digital tools that are being used today. So we do have opportunities to, maybe hang materials, workshop boards at a local, at some place in the environment, maybe at the park or a trail, along a trail corridor, and get some, feedback in a socially distant way that would be safe for everybody. So we're certainly exploring those opportunities too. And if you have any ideas, we'd love to hear them.
Great. Thank you all for your feedback today. Appreciate it. So that's pretty much what we had scheduled for you all tonight. So hopefully you've learned a little bit about Central Bikeway, how we got here, what we're doing, where we're going, how we'll continue to engage you. And now we're going to open it up for questions and answers. I think for people that have questions, I'm going to call on a few people that want to raise their hand. So let me pull up my participant list here. So I'll be looking for a few raised hands first, calling on a few folks, and then we'll take some written in questions too. So for those of you that are thinking about written questions, feel free to type your comments or questions into the Q&A and we'll get to you next. And I know our team has a few also queued up. So I see Ari has his hand up. Ari, do you want to unmute yourself and ask a question?
Sure. Thanks. This looks like really amazing, and I'm very impressed by all the work you've done for this. My question is, how long do you think it would take for a Central Bikeway to be fully constructed? Is it more of a kind of incremental thing where you build a segment here and build a segment there over a period of time, and how long would that time be?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ari. So one of the components of our study we'll be looking at implementation. So how do we build this type of facility once we know where it should be located and we're all in agreement? And how do we seek funding for a project like this? I wish I could honestly say that we could pave it and do it all in one, 16-mile chunk, but most likely it will be built in segments. Now, the benefit we have is that we have great partners on our team as well, and they have their own resources, the city, the county, that they can bring to the table as well. So it's great that we have them on the team because we can share those resources and hopefully build upon the great planning work that they've done as part of the bike planning work in San Jose and the recently adopted bike plan in Santa Clara. So hopefully we can work together, build on facilities that they're planning, and maybe fill in gaps where they don't exist in other places that the Central Bikeway could do to put it all together. Timeline-wise, at this point in time, we don't have any idea, but it will probably take us, after we do this conceptual engineering design after this project, I would say probably a few more years to get a final design in place. But it's possible we may be able to implement some of them in a quick build fashion in certain locations and get part of the project up and running where it's feasible. And we hope to explore those options in this study. So thanks, great question. Tony, you have your hand raised. We'll go with you next.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, go
Great.
ahead.
Yeah, so my key question is around a long-term regional planning for a bicycle network. And I assume that the bike we're talking about here should fit nicely into such a regional network. The problem, of course, is that just like with driving, activities are spread all over the valley, and people want to go from A to B, B to C, and the desire lines go all over the place. So ultimately, we need to have a network, just like a road network, some kind of a grid pattern or with diagonals and so on. What kind of planning exists around that? And I know it has to be superimposed on existing streets and so on.
Yeah, that's a great question. So you're thinking kind of from a county perspective, but maybe even beyond our borders, right? It sounds
Absolutely.
like you're thinking maybe from a Bay Area or regional perspective. So
yeah, but I mean, my typical bicycle commutes are 10 to 15, 20 miles.
yeah.
Beyond that is not really practical on a non-electric bicycle, but as more e-bikes are brought in, then we can expand the reach, people can expand their commute distances.
Great. Yeah, I think I can help answer that. So I mentioned early on in the presentation, but I said it really quick, that this is one of 12 envisioned corridors that we have in the county. So the Central Bikeway is the first, at least in the South Bay, that we envision working on, but we hope to be able to work on other cross-county bike corridors, which may be bicycle superhighways as well. Some of my colleagues on my BikePed team are actually also working on a bicycle superhighway implementation plan that is kind of going to be looking at how VTA addresses those other corridors moving forward. And then actually on the call with us tonight, I'll call him out. Don't feel a need to speak, Elliot, but one of our partners from Caltrans, Elliot Goodrich, who's one of the attendees this evening, is actually leading a regional study for the Bay Area for Caltrans. So Caltrans is actually looking at a regional way to connect our bicycle superhighways across county borders to get people even longer distances than those kind of 10 to 15 miles that you were thinking at. And we're coordinating with them very, very closely.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Yeah. Can I see, is Elliot's work, is that on a website somewhere I can take a look?
Elliot, if we could call on you, if you have a website up, just let us know. If not, we'll have to follow up with you afterwards, Tony.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks, Brent.
Yeah, hi there. This is Elliot Goodrich with Caltrans. We are just like a step behind VTA. So we intend to have a website online this winter, but we don't yet have one. I'll send that information through Brent, and we'll post it on our social media as well when we do have it. We'll have a lot of the same types of opportunities to get your feedback. So stay tuned. Thank you for the shout out, Brent.
Great, of course. Yeah, we'll make sure to cross promote that all for you so you can provide valuable feedback for our partner in Caltrans as well. So if there are any more hands, I'll take one more hand. If not, we'll go to written questions. Okay, seeing none, let's queue up some of our written questions that we have.
There are quite a few. So there is a question about, I guess, the outreach moving forward, and if there is going to be a way outside of the surveys to interact and provide feedback about the project. An open-ended format for providing feedback is what this person is asking about.
So you can, I mean, we won't be getting to do in-person feedback, unfortunately, but we plan to have other strategies in place, like doing calls with neighborhood associations and groups that are in our study area. If you're a member of one of those organizations. One of our primary partners on the ALTA team is the Silicon Valley Bike Coalition. So we're very lucky to have them as part of the team. They work with the bicycling community on a regular basis and will be helping with the outreach. So passing feedback through them is always appreciated. And you can, of course, always reach out to us directly here. I have our contact information up on the screen. Our ears are open 24/7. So community outreach at bti.org or give us a call. And that feedback can be incorporated and documented into the study at any time.
We have another set of questions around some connections. So these are two questions from the same person I'm going to combine. The first question is, right now there are no good connections in Santa Clara for the bicycle improvements that are coming to the Trimble 101 overcrossing. Is the team aware of these improvements and considering possible connections, with a link to the VTA US 101 Trimble Interchange Improvements Project? And another question around connections is if there are eventual plans to connect anywhere east of the airport or to the 237 Bikeway.
Okay, great. I'll start, and then I know Carol's on the call, so I'll start with the interchange, and then maybe Carol, you could help me on any potential items that are in your bike plan related to De La Cruz or Trimble. So VTA, we wear many hats in the county. Not only do we plan bikeways and pedestrian ways and run transit, but we also think of the transportation network completely. So we also work on roadways and interchanges. And so we're lucky in the sense we can wear multiple hats. We happen to be leading the Trimble De La Cruz interchange project that the person mentioned in their question. And we have some amazing bicycle facilities that are part of this project that are going to be helping cyclists get over what today is a very, very unsafe barrier on the 101 corridor. And our project team, Alta, and our team members are definitely thinking about ways that this project interfaces with that interchange. And it may actually, in fact, become one of the alternatives that we look at, because it actually is within our study area. So it could potentially be a way that we go around the airport on kind of a northern section, if you will. Carol, is there anything that you would like to add on other ways that the city is thinking about connections to that part of the interchange?
Well, I know we've been a big partner in reviewing the plans and the study for that US 101 Trimble interchange project. And so we've at least been, informing VTA like what our plans are on De La Cruz and Coleman. So they're aware that we want to include a class 4 bike lane on De La Cruz. And so hopefully as part of our comments is that I think they have like a trail planned as part of that project on either side of Coleman. I can't really remember, but they do know that we definitely want to include that class 4 on Coleman to link up with that new trail that they're proposing as part of that interchange project.
Thanks, Carol.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the second part of the question too had to do with connections to the 237 Bikeway. So that bikeway is much further north in the county, but what's great about the Central Bikeway area is that it connects to these 3 really great north-south trail corridors that exist. And one of those is the Guadalupe River Trail. So theoretically, you could take the Central Bikeway to the Guadalupe River Trail and get yourself up to 237 on a really great off-street path. So I think that's how we'd answer that question. Thank you so much for your feedback. We'll take another, and then we'll do some raised hands.
So there are a few questions related to how this project is going to take into account previous plans that are done. So one question asks about or mentions that our neighborhood provided feedback to the Better Bike Plan during the summer. Will that be included, or are we starting from scratch? And then similarly, how does this work relate to the El Camino plan? And then the third related question, what about connecting to Sunnyvale, Campbell, and Cupertino?
That's great. We were anticipating the question about, are we starting from scratch in San Jose? And maybe I'll start, and John, if you'd like to add anything, feel free. But, you know, one of the benefits of being a countywide agency like VTA is we really value working across borders and across jurisdictions. And we really envision this project building on the work of our partners. So we don't see Central Bikeway, you know, saying no or yay to something that the city has planned. We really want to emphasize the great work that they've already done as a partner at identifying routes and working within that ecosystem. Do you have any other thoughts, John?
I'd just add that we do have a collaborative partnership between the city of San Jose and VTA, so that we do share analysis that each agency has conducted to inform the other agencies' plans, as will be the case with this Central Bikeway effort.
That's great, thanks. Thank you very much. And then to kind of address the question about our western border, make sure I'm getting my directions right. So Sunnyvale and our other cities west. If many of you probably noted that our study area kind of ends right at Lawrence Expressway on the western boundary. And we actually see the Central Bikeway potentially one day continuing further west throughout the county, connecting with other corridors. And so while Sunnyvale isn't a core partner on the team, we do envision engaging with their staff throughout the project and doing check-ins with them to making sure that we're meeting and joining up with their bicycle and active transportation planning efforts that they're doing right now in their city. So thank you for those questions. Libby or Jennifer, maybe we take a little time to just read some comments that maybe aren't questions. Any other feedback that people have provided? Any insightful things?
Libby, you got anything teed up?
If there's not, I'll just take a show of hands.
Well, this is a comment that actually was mentioned yesterday. So when the path becomes busy, it's kind of a question. How do we handle the various speeds of users, walkers versus cyclists trying to get to work on time? So just mentioning consideration for casual users as well as users who are traveling long distance.
That's great. Emily, do you want to tackle that one for us?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, always. You know, we only get so many opportunities to build corridors for people walking and biking and not in buses and trains and other faster modes. And so, but the intention of these bike superhighways are so that they are direct and they can facilitate bikes, people commuting on bikes who, you know, want to be riding at a faster speed so they can, you know, quickly get to work. So when we are, you know, although the project is really focused on that goal, you know, we do want to look for space to accommodate slower modes. And, you know, we are going to be doing some analysis, some demand analysis to better understand how many potential people we think could be on the various segments of the bikeway. And we want to make sure that we design the bikeway so we provide enough space to accommodate all those users. You know, maybe that looks like a separated path with a lane for rolling and a lane for walking. You know, maybe it is some sort of on-street bikeway with a sidewalk next to it. But, you know, I think we're going to be exploring all of those opportunities and, you know, certainly keeping this in mind that, you know, although we are looking to facilitate this mode share and people being able to move around the county at longer distances on bikes, these are still just key opportunities to just create more places for people to enjoy, whether they're walking or biking or using a slower mode.
Okay, great. Did anyone have a question that would like to raise their hand? Maybe ask it verbally. All right, I see Fan. Go ahead, unmute yourself.
Hi, actually, I just typed it in too. I want to know, can I expect eventually there will be a separated bike path to go east-west across 101, which is the biggest challenge right now, say from Central to the other side to connect with Guadalupe River Trail, or even better yet, to connect with First Street?
Yeah, so the answer to your question is yes. So right now, separate from Central Bikeway, the project that I mentioned earlier, the Trimble de la Cruz Interchange project, is actually fully funded, and we're finalizing the design right now. And in that project vision includes a fully separated path and what we call the loop-de-loop. So it will actually loop you through the interchange separate from all the cars and take you over 101 and connect you through a protected intersection to the Guadalupe Trail.
Oh, great. That's great news. Thank you so much.
And the Central Bikeway alignment may use that alignment, or we may choose to go further south. We don't know that yet. But that project will get built nonetheless. So you'll have that facility available to you.
Great, thank you.
Tony, I see your hand raised, and then we'll take Tim's hand.
Yeah, thanks. Just following up on a previous question with a trail accommodating multiple modes of transport. There's a big problem on the Stevens Creek Trail. If you go north, it's a good problem to have, but it can be dangerous. When you go northbound in the evenings, you get a lot of bicycle traffic coming southbound, especially when it's dark with very bright lights. It becomes so dangerous that you may not actually see a pedestrian in front of you. So what I'm really asking is to make sure we've got plans for expanding bike trails. When it becomes so popular, especially with employees relocating to an area, they can become so popular they can get congestion, which really can become so dangerous that people like myself might actually even have to go back onto the roads, which we really want to avoid. It's a good problem to have, but it's just something we have to be aware of.
Yeah, bike congestion would be a great problem to have. It means that we'd be reducing our greenhouse gas emissions and shifting people off our streets.
Yeah, the Stevens Creek Trail is a great place to study that. Yeah, and all the dangers.
And perhaps we can think about ways that we could address that. Maybe I'll call on the Alta team who's designed facilities around the world to think about some solutions and maybe how they address that in other places.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, we actually have been working, or we worked with on the Iron Horse Trail, which is another trail that has been an existing trail, but it is very well loved and very well used. And so we just finished a study where we were looking to see how we could add more capacity to provide, safer conditions for all the various users that use that trail. And, there are a lot of there are now, tech campuses and other, destinations that people can take BART to and then ride down. So we are starting to see over on the Iron Horse Trail a much greater shift of commuters. And so, that does create, it has created some safety challenges. So, creating separated spaces and widening the trail where there's room, and also thinking about, how we can efficiently get people over major barriers so that we can keep the flow consistent, so that you don't have to stop at every intersection, or so there are a number of design strategies that we'll be, looking into for this project, and it'll be certainly something once we have a number of corridors to, compare. We'll be using sort of tools to evaluate, which ones are the most direct and what alternatives could be the fastest. And, we will start to look into that and bring that back during our next round of engagement. Which corridors could be built out the widest, or what do we think was going to have the highest demand? So I think that's an excellent point, and we'll definitely be sharing more information in the future about that.
Great, thank you very much, Emily. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Tony. All right, Tim, you're up, and then we'll take some written questions.
Yeah, thanks. I was wondering if this project is a focus on a practical transportation thing versus a trail, because the tension between them. Trails are definitely very joyful, but they tend to be narrow, windy, and they, with a lot of nature with them. And when they said bicycle superhighway, I was really envisioning this as a very practical place. It would take you to a lot of useful places, like right along a lot of shopping and to a lot of jobs, versus having a lot of nature. Like Steve's Creek Trail is very natural. San Tomas Creek is more practical. It's a little bit straighter and it goes under a lot of places, not quite as much nature. But for me, I was really envisioning like switch over Central Expressway, stop cars, make it all bikes, super wide, pass people, go under a lot of places through parts of, Santa Clara, Sunnyvale, and you make it really practical. Or El Camino, like take 2 lanes and convert over to bikes, and have 1 lane for cars, maybe have some mass transit there also. But really make it very practical for bikes. So the bikes have a first class facility. So are we talking more like massive transportation on bikes, or are we talking more trail-like, which is more in the joyful spectrum?
I think we're leaning maybe a little bit towards more of what you described as a non-trail-like facility. So a facility that will look at different types of design that we can implement to move people quickly, comfortably, but also joyfully. So joy is a goal. But connecting people to those really important regional destinations, job centers, is a very important goal that's part of this project.
And also night and day and any weather conditions. So I know Guadalupe is great, it's wide, but it shuts down a lot of times and you can't get there.
Yeah, so our team of designers will definitely be looking at lighting, improved lighting for safety and comfort and key locations. That will definitely be part of our study. And we'll be looking at things like barriers or gaps that you called out, in ways that we could grade separate and get around those challenges to help move you quicker to destinations that you need to go to. We just wanted to recognize that we're in a pretty unique place that has great trail corridors already. And the facility may be looking at parts of those corridors to be part of the Central Bikeway, but not necessarily the main focus. Is there anything you'd like to add, Emily?
Yeah, I just want to say that we, part of this project and what's going to get all those bikes into, justifying taking over, transforming a road, is really trying to create that experience for other people who aren't currently biking, who may feel comfortable biking on the trail, and applying that to this east-west corridor, and make it transformative enough that we can start to really see that mode shift and welcome people who aren't traditionally biking right now to make those trips to work or trips to school for whatever reason. That so I think that's where we're trying to tie in the joy and tie in really broadening the current user group of who's riding on our streets to make it more inclusive.
That's great, thanks. Okay, I think we'll have got a few more minutes left, maybe time for 2 or 3 quick questions. So let's take some of our written questions to help close out our meeting tonight.
Yeah, we have
go ahead, Libby. No, you go, Libby.
You can't see each other?
So yeah, we have a question in the Q&A asking around implementation. How much of a challenge is it to get the right of way to build the bike path? Is the project really well funded at this point?
Great, so that's a great combination question. So right of way is a term that we use that kind of is the space that a facility is in. So the right of way could be, typically a roadway in this case, but it could be a levee where there's a trail or a railroad corridor or something like that. And that includes partnership. So at VTA, we don't actually own many rights of way, except like our light rail facilities, our buses and transit operate in city public right of way. So that's why it's so important to work with our jurisdictions, like our cities, to co-create and plan with them, because a facility like this will need to potentially run on a public street or a public expressway in the county's case. And so having them on board and planning a facility that suits all of our visions, including the public, will hopefully reduce some of those costs, because we can plan for that space together. In terms of well-funded, right now we're funded for basically getting through this visioning phase and producing some early designs. What's great about this project is the corridor is identified in our countywide bike plan, which would potentially unlock future funding as part of our Measure B program, which is our countywide tax measure that funds bicycle projects. And we have other tasks in the project to also look at other grant funding sources. But right now, we're only funded through the initial design phase of this project.
Another question in the discussion chat is about the geography of the project. Somebody said, great project. Just wanted to mention that a better description might be Berryessa, San Jose Midtown Airport, Japantown to Santa Clara. As according to the map, the project seems to barely touch the North San Jose area, north of 101 and 880. So they commented to look at a route that connects to North San Jose.
So maybe use more local terminology to describe the neighborhoods that we're going through. Thank you so much. That's great feedback. We'll take that into account. I'll just be totally transparent too. As a team, we've been talking about, you know, where on the eastern end of the project does this go? Is it North San Jose? Is it East San Jose? We kind of feel like it goes to both places. But beyond the Berryessa BART station, we actually are looking at the project going further east. So our study boundary actually does go out past the BART station, generally around the area of the Upper Penitencia Creek project. So the ultimate vision would be that the Central Bikeway gets you to that corridor, which eventually gets you to Alum Rock Park, and actually one day all the way up to the ridge. So you could ride on the Ridge Trail all the way around the Bay Area one day. Another question? Take two more, okay? These are great.
Yeah, we don't have any questions.
No,
I will just say we've gotten a couple of notes around some errors with the online survey.
Okay.
And I just want to say that if anyone's getting an error, your data is being collected, even if you see that error message, and we will troubleshoot to make sure that doesn't happen in the future.
Okay, that's helpful. All right, if we don't have any other written questions, any one last show of hands before we close it out tonight? One last hand. All right. Well, this was great. We really appreciate you all being here with us tonight. Going to give yourselves a pat on the back, round of applause. Thank you so much for your contributions. I know the team really appreciates the feedback, and it's a lot of work to get us here tonight, and we're so excited to kind of kick off our first round of engagement and hear what you all have to say about this concept of building our first bicycle superhighway in the county, and really the region, actually. So we're going to be setting the trend here, hopefully for the Bay Area, getting this project concept together and doing that with you all. So we appreciate it. We look forward to engaging with you further at later dates. And again, if you have any comments or questions over the next few weeks, feel free to email us at communityoutreach@vta.org or give us a call. And we look forward to going through this journey with you. Thank you all so much. And I think with that, we'll end the meeting tonight. Take care.